We're now live. Hello, Instagram. Let's see if I can get Isabel in here. I'm super excited for today. I know. Okay, so we're gonna. Oh. Hello. Yay!
Hi! How is everybody?
I know. I'm so excited for everybody to join us today because, so the first week, the last 2 weeks, the first week, what happened?
Here, let me wait before you go into it. Let me go live
Okay, we're
on
gonna
Facebook and
add Facebook
YouTube.
and YouTube.
Hi, Facebook and YouTube and Instagram.
Hi.
Welcome to the weekly Pet Roundup. I'm Isabel. This is Jessica, and today we're talking about some drama going on in the industry.
Drama. Yes. So, Dog Food Advisor, a very, very popular website. They made, Isabel and I were just talking about it. They made some statements back in January that both of us were like, ugh. And then, but they've turned the ship around and took a stand. Whether you agree with it or not, we'll talk about that. But yeah, so they made a statement last week that they have removed Purina products from their, what do they call it? Their best, or their pet food, recommended pet food, best dog food pages is what they call them. They've removed all Purina products. That's a big deal. This is a huge deal. So, yeah, before we jump into that, we haven't been here for a couple of weeks, so we want to catch up with you and say hi.
Hi!
I think that's what we want to do.
No, that's perfect. I love it. Let's do it.
Yeah, well, you had some family in town, and then I went out of town, and then, so yeah, like life just sometimes gets in the way, but a lot has been going on in the past couple of weeks. And we're like going back and forth with, do we talk about this? Do we talk about this? And then this came up, and then Dog Food Advisor was like, full stop, put on the brakes. And now, like a lot of people, I was surprised. A lot of people hadn't seen it. When I posted the graphic on Saturday, was it Saturday? Everybody was like, wait, what? What happened? And I'm like, how am I? I'm never the first to know. How did this happen?
Well, there is nothing on. After you and I spoke about it, I've been looking for any podcast, any video that might have come out, and nobody's talking about this yet because it just happened. The announcement, the update from Dog Food Advisor was on May 17th, so Friday.
Yeah. Oh, really? I thought it was earlier in the week for some reason. Well, so
he says the website says May 17th. He says May 16th. As far as when the statement was made.
Got it. So to back things up, in case people aren't aware, January of this year.
I must hit back and just let you.
Oh, okay.
Catch us up.
So January of this year, a Facebook group that was originally formed a few years back because the lady, Kelly Bone, that created the group, it's called Saving Pets One Pet at a Time. Her dog died because of, I think it was the excess vitamin D? Well, I don't know. I'm trying to remember which year that was.
That sounds right, yeah.
In
22?
Hills.
22, right? I think that was
in Hills Pet Food.
Yeah.
So she created this group to start raising awareness for people feeding kibble products that, hey, like there is so much going on behind the scenes. The ingredients that they're using are subpar to be nice. And just overall, like the way the system is set up, people don't find out there's a recall until it's too late. So her dog Duncan actually died before the recall ever even came out. So it wasn't like, oh, she just didn't know about it. Nothing had been done. And so she and some of the other moderators in the group started noticing a huge increase in people joining the group and posting that their pet was getting sick, and so many of them seemed to correlate with opening a new bag of food. The bulk of those foods were Purina products. And so she reached out to some holistic veterinarians and integrative veterinarians that she had met and worked with through the course of, because she actually sued Hills. And so it was a huge ordeal that took a big toll on her, because can you imagine going up against a company like Hills Pet Food, right? In the legal system, they just have so much money. They're going to beat you to death with all the money they have and all the high-priced, powerful lawyers they have. And so she reached out to some holistic veterinarians, and they started gathering the data. Dr. Judy Morgan decided that the buck was going to stop with her, and she took the lead on informing the public about what is going on. Not that we know exactly what was going on, other than the fact that at this point, thousands and thousands of dogs and cats are reportedly sick, and it is assumed from the pet food that they are eating, because, and some of the questions being asked, just to kind of put everything in perspective, is we're trying to make sure that there wasn't something else going on. So it wasn't within a couple of weeks of flea or tick treatment applications. They didn't recently get vaccines. A lot of times it is happening with opening a new bag of food. So these numbers have been going up and up and up and up since January, and Dr. Judy Morgan has been reporting on it since January and trying to keep the public updated. So Susan Thixton also got involved, because she is a consumer advocate in the pet food space. So she attends AFCO meetings, and she is very much shunned because she's there for consumers and trying to do right by consumers and by pets, which I won't get into any opinion, Jack. So Susan Thixton, do you want to jump in? Am I over?
No, not at all. I mean, no.
So Susan Thixton published an article May 10th, 2024. She submitted a Freedom of Information Act request. We just call it a FOIA, just so going forward, it's a FOIA. Now, interestingly, she actually got what she asked for, because she submits a lot of FOIAs, and sometimes years go by and she never gets anything.
Yeah.
So interesting, she got what she asked for. And here is what she was asking for: reports of sick pets. They're called adverse event reports that the FDA has received. So what she got was that just in January 2024, 971 complaints were submitted to the FDA. It says this total does not include multiple complaints of bug-infested pet food or others that did not appear to match the symptoms of the current pet food crisis. So just based on the symptoms of the current pet food crisis, 971 complaints to the FDA just in the month of January 2024. 886 of those were Purina products. So some of the reports included more than one pet. So the total number of sick pets reported to the FDA just in January 2024 was 1,312. And then she does list the other brands that were also reported to the FDA, but it's like one dog here, one pet here, one pet there. And I never want to, I really want to reiterate that this is both dog and cat. So, we talk so much about dogs, and granted, I do think, seeing the numbers and seeing the surveys of people that have been participating in taking the surveys and letting us know about what's going on. Cats seem to eat a more variety of food than dogs in general. A lot of people put their dog on one food and never stop feeding that one food forever and ever and ever. Whereas cats, for whatever reason, it does happen that some people put their cat on one food and never change it. But in general, more often than not, they're eating a much bigger rotation of foods. So it doesn't seem to be, even though some cats are, yes, being affected and dying, it doesn't seem to be as severe in cats. So I think we're still kind of overlooking them. So I just want to like reiterate to people that it is both dog and cats. So with this, with the information that Susan got from the FDA, and she created this blog post. Interestingly, she says 4 months later, so we're in May, so 4 months later, the FDA still has not warned pet owners. They have not provided how many consumer complaints have been received since January. They didn't provide that information. And the FDA has told pet owners nothing. So we know for a fact they're aware of the issue, but they're not telling anyone anything. And I think that's what prompted Dog Food Advisor to update their status, because as Isabel and I were talking before we went live, their original stance in January was very bleh. It was basically, we don't act on rumors, was the one statement that both of us took from there.
And there was the other, I think the other part was that the veterinarians that were reporting this had something to gain from it, from sales of their own food products, which was not accurate, because Dr. Judy Morgan doesn't sell her own food products. I mean, she has a website where you can buy stuff, yes, but she wasn't gaining anything. She actually lost money because she was running tests out of her own pocket.
She has put a lot of money into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing I want to say, is that, like, I get that people are like, oh, we're demonizing this brand and it's just rumors. But really, nobody has the time to waste on this if it weren't somehow valid, even just valid, meriting some kind of closer look, right? Like, who has time and money to just throw at something that's not real, especially when nobody gains anything from it? Purina loses. We talked about this when we covered this back in January, February. Purina stands to lose. Pet parents have lost pets. The veterinarians that were doing this were getting death threats and stuff. I mean, everybody lost in this situation. There was no winner. So that's the first thing to remind everybody of. And the second thing to remind everybody of is that what really brought the attention to this is that, you know, multiple pets in one household were getting sick. So the chances of that happening from, obviously, some kind of bacterial infection they picked up during a walk, possible, but like all of them were getting like some kind of IBS, and I mean, like, the chances of colitis and IBS and stress related things happening to a whole group of dogs in one home without any kind of cause, like there was no event that may have caused this, was already suspect. But the thing that really solidified it is these dogs did better when they went off of the food for like a bland food diet for a little bit, and then when they went back on the food, they were showing the same symptoms. So again, this is not just rumors. This is a red flag. Multiple red flags that were being investigated, as they should be, because as consumers, that's why we have the FDA. That's why we have things like protections that we can actually go after and say, hey, something's going on with this. Just like we have that for, you know, VAERS for vaccine reactions. We have that for food and medication of other kinds too. So this is exactly what was done, is exactly what the system is meant to do when somebody starts to see some kind of correlation between my dog is eating this, or my kid is taking this, or I'm taking this, or I'm eating this, and I'm getting sick. I get off of it. I'm fine. Go back on it. Now I'm sick again. I mean, it's like elementary. So that's the biggest thing, is that's why you and I were so like about the response from Dog Food Advisor. rumors are rumors, but like
Yeah.
who gains? Nobody, first
Right.
of all, gained from this. And second of all, like to me, a rumor is like, let's talk about like Bravo TV or like, Love Island. Like those are rumors. Like this is pets dying. Like
Yeah.
this was way more than a rumor. So both of us were kind of turned off by that response. I'll go further to say that I've followed Dog Food Advisor for a really, really long time just because I write for pet businesses and I like to be informed first thing
Yeah.
when there is a pet food recall. So I signed up for their emails, I signed up my clients for their emails, all those things. But then I started seeing, I think at the beginning of this year, where like Dog Food Advisor was doing a lot more like coupons and like affiliate links. And I understand that you have to get paid for the time you put into these websites. And like people are using your information to make decisions and you're not making any money off of it. So no hate on Dog Food Advisor for trying to monetize their site, but the way they went about it almost felt like it was no longer reporting, it was more like blogging. So it kind of changed the way that I viewed the site. And then on top of it, with this rumors and vets that stand to make a buck off of this, I was totally turned off. But like,
Yeah.
I'm shocked that they would take a stand on this.
Yeah.
I believe the person behind Dog Food Advisor is a guy, and I would assume it's Andrew Dickens because that's the name in the update, that's the name that is of the author. So he is, in one of the emails he sent a while back, he calls himself a journalist. So hey, shout out journalist. But again, it's kind of confusing when you're a journalist who's like doing affiliate links and like promotions, like 20% off Chewy. And so now I guess we're back to reporting on this, and we're back to discussing Purina after kind of like a few months of not hearing much at all.
Yeah.
And he does say like that it's because of Susan Thixton's work that he has kind of given this another look. And now I think we can give our opinions on Susan. I think she's fantastic. And I think that the way that she does her advocacy, she asks for donations for the list she makes of recommended pet foods every year. So we are paying for her to continue reporting without like diluting the brand or the information with affiliate links and kind of like influencer stuff, influencer marketing. So Susan Thixton, The Truth About Pet Food, to me is like the epitome of like pet food advice on the internet throughout the world. That's my opinion. And when Dog Food Advisor kind of challenged that, her stance or her involvement too, like indirectly, he didn't name her until now that I can tell. But it was like, oh, you're going up against Susan and Dr. Judy Morgan. I don't know. Like, I don't know that you're informed as to who's giving you this information, because they're really truly like the top in this when it comes to investigating this situation, when it comes to reliability, like a reliable narrator kind of thing. That, I mean, Dr. Judy Morgan is a retired veterinarian, and she's really putting her neck out in a lot of these things. Like, it's not safe or fun for her to do this at all.
No, not at all. And yeah, I agree. I've never, like, just my own personal opinion, have never really followed Dog Food Advisor, primarily because they have recommended and allowed reviews of a lot of products that I just don't, I personally, as like a health coach, as a trainer, as a nutritionist, I personally don't recommend ever at all. And so that's just my like personal. I did want to I saw a question here from Miller KJ555. She said, I think it's a she. What is in it that is causing illness? And that's one of the issues. That's one of the problems, is that we still don't know. And there was an episode that I did with BC Hinchin. Isabel wasn't available one week, so I went on live with BC. And if you're not familiar with him, first of all, you can go to the Pet Parenting Reset podcast, and it's in there because I always like repost these lives in my podcast feed. So you can listen to him. And I think I put it up on YouTube as well. But that's one of the things we were talking about, because the reality is that when I say we, but like in this instance, Dr. Judy Morgan has run so many different tests on various pet food products. And when you run these tests, you have to ask specifically to test for XYZ. And she has run so many tests, and everything has basically come up inconclusive, which you can go to her YouTube channel and watch all of her updates. Every time they got test results back, she shared that information. So this, you can go and please do, like, go behind and check and research this for yourself. It is a big deal. So I understand that you don't want to take one person's word for it. Like, please go research it. This information is out there. But it has gotten to the point where the testing is so expensive for an individual like this veterinarian, this retired veterinarian, to do when we don't know exactly what we're looking for. They've kind of suspended the testing, and the hope is that the FDA is going to step in and do their job and start doing their own, right? I know, that's the hope. To do their job, and for them to start requiring and doing testing and figuring out what is going on. But if you go back to that episode where I had BC on, so BC Hinchin has been in the pet food industry for many decades at this point, part of the WPA, and he's done a lot, and been very involved in the like manufacturing side of pet food for a long time. So we talked about what could this possibly be, and some of the things that we together, our opinions together, concluded were that it's likely not just one thing, and so in some instances it could also be affecting some pets more adversely than others, just because of how healthy or unhealthy they are to begin with. So there could be a genetic predisposition, and the fact that we have been feeding these, and please forgive me because I'm not saying this to make anybody feel bad. It's just, once you learn more, you understand that these truly are subpar foods. They're not even really foods, they're feed. And we've been feeding them for so many generations of pets at this point that every generation of pet is just inherently less adaptable, less able to handle anything adverse in their environment. And the immune systems just aren't as great as they were 100 years ago, right? Like, so it's probably not just one thing. And I think that's kind of the crux of this whole issue, is that it could be multiple things going on. So Hill's Science Diet is Purina? No. So Hill's is one company, Purina is another company.
And they're both owned by different
yeah.
conglomerates. So
they are.
Hill's is owned by Colgate-Palmolive, and Purina's owned by Nestle, right? Nestle?
Nestle. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, they had their own issues. I think it was in 22. When
it wasn't that long ago.
It was settled, so it was there was validity to it. Usually, that's what we assume when there's a settlement.
Yeah.
So those were settled, but this is this is the thing. It's an overwhelming amount of reports regarding Purina with the same symptoms, the same kind of adverse reaction, then betterment, then back in that same, if they use the same food. From the same bag, especially, the symptoms came back. So that does kind of imply that there is something in the food that's making the pet sick. But I mean, it could be mold, it could be a bacteria, it could be some kind of overdose or of some kind of vitamin. It could be so many things. It could be heavy metals, which is what was talked about for a while. It could be chemical, pesticide, some kind of contaminant. So it's really hard to know what you're testing for. Like, that's like saying, like, I don't know, like I'm going to test my coffee for some contaminant. Like, how many contaminants can we find in coffee? 1 million, apparently, which is a conversation for another day. But like, you'd have to know where to start in order to test this food, and that's why it
Right.
hasn't been able to kind of be, this mystery hasn't been solved for that reason.
Hmm.
But Purina has the whole time maintained that they are fine, that it's safe to
Yes.
feed, that there is no recall. So as long as there's no recall, it's not being taken off the shelves. It's
Right.
not being. There were situations where at the beginning of this, I heard people saying that they would go to stores and retailers, independent retailers, had
Hmm.
removed Purina from the shelves just in case, and that's great. I think that's, if you went to a retailer and they did that, to me that says that they really are committed to the quality of the food that they sell. So go back to them and support them. But Purina has maintained this whole time that there is nothing wrong with the food. The first thing that they said to Dog Food Advisor in the most recent communication from their corporate communications director, senior director, Purina products continue to be safe to feed, and we have no current or pending recalls. Because that's really like that's where the litigation would start. In them,
Yeah.
the second that they have a pending recall, then they have to start acting. But until then, they don't have to do anything.
And that is probably a more controversial opinion that I have and that I am not afraid to state, even though I have been advised not to state it. um, One of the things that makes me so frustrated, like really infuriated with this situation in the FDA, first of all, let me just, in case somebody out there needs to hear this, we are asking the same regulatory body to oversee the poison and the cure. So we are asking the same regulatory body to oversee food and drug. Where are the checks and balances in this? Like they don't exist. That's just an aside. But here's the thing: during this whole time since the beginning of the year, and I don't say this to invalidate the person at all because what they went through was serious. But there was one one pet that got sick on Viva Raw and passed away. And not even 100% sure that it was the food itself, but the FDA asked them to recall it, to do a voluntary recall with one consumer complaint. Granted, yes, this was a very serious complaint. I don't want to minimize that in any way, shape, or form because if this were my dog, I would be devastated as well. But just to put this into perspective, we have a small raw food company with one consumer complaint. The FDA asked them to issue a voluntary recall. On the flip side, we know they have been getting hundreds and thousands of consumer complaints for another brand, Purina, and they have not asked for anything. They haven't even advised the public to be cautious. So again, this is my opinion. So I'm not saying that this is anybody else's opinion but mine, but I don't that doesn't sit right with me.
No, of course not. I mean, there has to be like a minimum number of there needs to be regulation. Like with this many complaints about a certain food, this is when we take this step. And then when there's
Yeah.
this many, this is when we take this step. Some
Yeah.
kind of standardization.
Yeah.
Because we have seen in the past where raw food companies were kind of targeted, for lack of a better word, by regulatory agencies just because there's so much unknown and there was so much resistance and reluctance to accept raw feeding, that there was their advisors, right, because the FDA has advisors, were not of the opinion that dogs should eat raw or pets should eat raw.
Yeah.
So they started kind of demonizing the raw food companies.
Yeah.
So we have to standardize it so that there is some kind of checks and balances. Like, I don't care who's manufacturing this food. I don't care what kind of food it is. When we get X number of complaints, this is the action that we take, because that's how you standardize action. One question I do have for you, and I know that you're part of the administrators of the group that we were referring to. Remind me the name of it right now. Keeping pets alive.
Saving pets one pet at a time.
Okay, so saving pets one pet at a time, I think in conjunction with Dr. Judy Morgan and others were running kind of their own complaint department for this incident. Do you know about how many people filled out the form that they were asking be filled out?
So off the top of my head, because it's been a couple of weeks since I've looked at it, it was somewhere around the 2,000-ish mark.
Okay.
And that is a small number compared to so just trying to get people to fill out those surveys is difficult.
Right.
Because the group itself was keeping track of numbers, and their numbers far exceed that. But yeah, the hope has been for so long that we could figure out what it was, what's going on.
That was the spirit with which that survey was done, was to get more information and kind of run a simultaneous kind of survey reporting of the symptoms and like the bags of food. And they asked people to save samples. They asked people to, get pictures of the bag if they still had it, find serial numbers. And of course, Purina at first it was, call us, then it was call the FDA, and because I don't think they could keep up with how many complaints they were getting. So they kind of gave differing instructions. At first it was like, yes, if you have any issues, call us. And then almost immediately, 24 hours later, it was like, if your pet has had any adverse reactions, go to the FDA. And some people were calling and getting food credits for other food. Some people claimed that they had covered veterinary bills. Again, alleged. There's no way for us to know for sure. So all of that was kind of where the rumor mill started, where somebody's saying, oh, they paid my bills, my veterinary bills, and they paid for an autopsy. But, this response from the FDA came last week, and they are still referring to it as a rumor.
Yeah. Well, so the Dog Food Advisor statement, it says, so update May 14th, 2024, data released by the FDA, which is where he was reporting on what Susan Thixton posted on Truth About Pet Food, and the number of adverse events that we already talked about. And yeah, I mean, it was really, for him to be like, he says, first, the obvious take is that it doesn't look good for Purina.
And he too has to cover his ASF.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't want to get sued. Nobody wants to get sued. We're all in this for the pets. Like, everybody's trying to get to the bottom of it and, hold anybody accountable that needs to be held accountable. And so, good on him for taking a stand, even if we didn't agree with him initially. And I don't think he has all the information. So, like, I do feel like he needs to spend some time in that group, saving pets one at a time.
BC, hi, thank you so much. So he says, everybody should know that I support real food first and foremost, and I have been behind the scenes a lot, but I'm not sure I would agree with the recalling until the cause is known. Well, that's the whole thing, right?
Exactly.
Like, we need to know what's going on, but that is also why we shouldn't be relying on recalls. Just like at the very beginning, I was talking about Kelly's dog, Duncan, died before a recall was ever issued. And I mean, that's just more proof that we need to be paying attention to our pets. Yeah. We need to be paying attention to people, because the Purina response to me is exactly what you would expect from some huge corporation. Like, I can't fault them in that, but it also makes people who their pets are sick and have died, it basically calls them liars, right? And that's really unfortunate. And that's like so sad. I could not imagine being one of those people whose pet had suffered and being told that I was lying or that I was trying to scare people, or you know what I mean? Like, that's the hardest part of it for me is you know, how these pet parents must be feeling. Ugh. Anyway, so
Yeah, I
um,
mean it's the end of the day, agreed. Like there can't be any recalls because we don't know what it is,
yeah,
but at the same time, the standard's not there. So
yeah,
we've
yeah,
recalled others for a lot
yeah,
less, fewer
yeah,
adverse reactions. We are not recalling. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to get into like who funds the FDA and what vested interest there are there, right? Because that's the end. You know,
yeah,
those that's a conversation that we could really deep dive into, but we're not going to. But you know, Purina is kind of hiding behind the fact that there is no recall.
hmm,
They say that they've checked, but they don't give us the details. So like if I could speak to Purina directly, I would say like show us the
yeah,
results, show us the details of the tests that you've run. What have
yeah,
you tested for? Because
right,
if you're testing for like just to make sure that the raw analysis matches what's on the bag, then yeah, maybe it is great. Like maybe it totally clears. Have you, you know, if you're testing for heavy metals alone, maybe that cleared too, you know, but like what were you testing for?
hmm,
Because we don't test people for their math skills during a history test. And that's really what,
right,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
what are we testing for? And then um, when he's kind of like talking about all of the things that, and again covering himself because these are all allegations, this is all what we know, we don't know a lot, but then he does finish up saying what we can do is control the foods we recommend on
hmm,
Dog Food Advisor. To that end, as a cautionary act, we've removed all Purina products from our best dog food pages indefinitely. This does not mean that we think there was a problem, and we are not telling you to either feed or not feed Purina to your dogs. We just want to let the dust settle and see what the truth is.
yeah. And I think there's also some confusion, and I can't find it on here for some reason, but I saw it the other day, um, that they can't remove the reviews on the website. I don't know if that's a just because of how the website is built, if they're, you know, consumer reviews are what they are. And like, it would be, I can completely understand, it would be, what's the word I'm looking for? It would seem shady, right? To
Yeah,
have all of
agreed.
these people, like you're building a platform where people can share their ideas and opinions on certain things and then cherry pick
Mm-mm,
things to
mm-mm,
delete.
mm-mm.
Right. I totally get that. So the reviews are all staying.
Well,
They're just not.
and they should because they were accurate at the time that the person reviewed the product, right? So that has nothing to do with him. He is simply just compiling reviews.
Yeah.
I don't, is he allowing new reviews? It looks like he is. So, you know what I mean? Like the reviews and the recommendations are totally different. Like I
Right.
can review a million things and then I'll come up with my own recommendation list of things. Even if I like something, I might not make my recommendation list.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see anything wrong with that. I think it's great. I think it is a little late. I think, you know, the fact that this is an action being taken now, you know, when the information is inconclusive, it's better sometimes to like not make a statement and hold out until you have all the facts. I feel like there's a lot of people have been commenting precipitously. Like, you know, like you know, I saw a lot of people just like going so hard on Purina's behalf, like they were on their payroll. And I'm like, just sit it out, just wait. Like, when in doubt, shut your mouth. And it seems like, you know, this is a good stance. I agree with leaving the reviews completely. They have nothing to do with him, they weren't written by him. But, you know, maybe this should have been something that we do when there's, you know,
Yeah.
compelling information. We kind of just learn everywhere.
So, okay, the CASPAC says the second a company starts paying vet bills, that tells me there's a chance of a legit issue,
Mm-hmm.
and that red flags for me. I totally get that. And here's the thing, like
We
it
don't know
with
for sure,
any,
though, do
we
we?
don't know for sure. that
That's
that
alleged.
that's an allegation. I have not personally heard or spoken with anybody that said that Purina paid their vet bills. In this case, I think in past instances, food companies have done that. So I can see where people are saying that again. Also, it's this. I don't remember exactly what they call it, but it's this like this loss ratio that all huge corporations look at. So, like for instance, if you take a recall on your car, they're going to say, okay, we have this problem on this vehicle. We know there are this many of those vehicles on the road. If we issue a recall, it's going to cost us X number of dollars. If we don't issue a recall, we expect to have to pay out claims to people being injured or killed to equal this. And which one dollar amount is less, that's the one they're going to do. And so I think it's the same thing with any corporation. And that's how they look at it, as the bottom line dollar figure. So is it going to cost them more to tell people to pull product off of a shelf, or is it going to cost them more to pay out?
Yeah. I mean, it's always, that's when people say a business decision, it's really a money decision,
Absolutely.
Right? Like it's not a business decision. It's about a bottom line. And
right.
Tara Lee over here on YouTube says, with so much info available at our fingertips and so many better choices, why anyone would still choose Purina is beyond me. Well, I will say this. I think people have a really hard time with change. We know that about people. And like you said earlier in this broadcast, you hit it on the nail on the head, where you said that like dog people really kind of stick to the same food for so long, and it's not good for our pets, and it's not good for us as consumers to just like settle on one brand and just stay with it. I know it's tempting because they say, if you use the same brand, you don't have to like slowly reintroduce like all that stuff. It kind of seems like it's more convenient, but you're right. Like as consumers, we need to, even if you started with one brand, you need to look at others, and like you need to keep up a little bit. That's why I liked Dog Food Advisor, because they had an email that would go out if there was a recall, so it made my life as a pet parent easier. BC does say, unfortunately, Dog Food Advisor is not completely income dependent from views. Removing Purina increased their views. So I'm taking that to say that this was like a PR move.
I don't see why. I mean, okay. The fact,
I don't know. That's a big risk, I feel like.
It is a big risk. He did act very quickly to Susan's reporting. So it isn't like, I don't know. I don't know him personally. I don't know the person that owns this website.
I don't either.
Could he have been just waiting for something to drop? Could he? I don't know. Or is he actually looking at it and saying, I don't know, trying to make the best decision for pet parents that are, I mean, the reality is that I don't care what kind of website you have, it costs money to run a website.
Yes, exactly.
And so you have to make money somehow, some way. And it's the same thing when picking out a pet food. Knowing who makes that pet food, trusting the company that makes that pet food, what their morals and ethics are, is so important. And the exact same thing is true for where you get your information from.
100%.
Because everybody, what is that saying? It's like, assholes. Everybody has one. Yeah. Opinions are like assholes. Yeah. Everybody has one. Yeah. And with the internet, everybody gets to put their opinion out there, including me and you, which, hopefully people know us well enough. The people that follow us know us well enough that like they know our intention isn't what's the quickest way that I can make money off of my viewers, right? Like, is that a goal? Yeah, of course it is. Isn't it everybody's goal?
Yeah.
But
to be
I don't
compensated for your time and your knowledge. Yes, that is the
Right.
goal.
Like I think there are many ways to go about it, and like on each end of the spectrum you have people that are just they hit you up hard, hard, hard with this affiliate link and that affiliate link and buy this course and do that. And then you have other people who are like, which I hope at least we fall into this building a brand and putting knowledge and information out there and creating a community, and in doing so then we can I don't hopefully pay our bills,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I'm gonna go with Raw Pod Ventures. I agree with you.
Mm,
I think that Dog Food Advisor has always wanted to create a community and do the right thing. And he got more info. This is what Raw Pod Venture says. Or did he get more info and he couldn't say from a legal perspective, but was enough to make him morally remove them from his site? He didn't remove them from his site. He removed them from his recommendation list. So yeah, like that definitely, like if I am recommending an eyeliner and I hear that people are, getting a horrible eye infection from this
mhm.
eyeliner, I'm probably going to stop recommending that eyeliner for at least a minute, because
I
there's
hope
a
so.
million other eyeliners out there that are not making people lose their eyeballs, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like Tara Lee says, there's so many options that I feel like it just makes sense for us to be like, there's a lot where there's smoke, there's fire, maybe there isn't, but it's just not worth me putting my name on this. And
Hmm.
having known Dog Food Advisor for so long. I mean, I don't remember when they were exactly founded, but they've been around for a
It's a
long time.
while.
It's been
Yeah.
around for as long as I've been in the industry, at
Mhm.
least. And so I believe too that there was just enough information for him to be like, you know what, I'm not going to recommend it anymore. Like, do what you want, like, but it's just not going to make my recommended list, just because of the rumors or the claims against this brand. And I think it's a great decision. I mean, if it gets him more views, great. I would recommend Dog Food Advisors start charging for those recall emails that he sends out. Like, I'm thinking membership. You know what I mean? Like, that's more what I feel like Dog Food Advisor is to me, like just like like it's a hub of information, real time updates on the pet food industry. That's always what I've used them for. So I'm gonna continue being on their email list and such. But I feel like at the end of the day, there are so many options out there. Just like watch your pets, like what we said, don't keep them on the same food forever. Watch when there's
Hmm.
any kind of changes. Make sure that you have eyes on your dog and cat's poop. That is a huge indicator of how they're digesting or not digesting their
Yeah.
food. I remember years and years ago, and it's a brand that I used for a very short period of time because of this. And it's still at Whole Foods, Sprouts. My dogs were eating this brand. I had 4 dogs at the time, and I was giving them exactly what the bag said to give them. And when they were eliminating, the food looked almost exactly the same way as it went in. And before I knew it, my dogs had all lost so much weight that my
Hmm.
veterinarian, whom I adore, I had 4 pets, so she would come to our house. She was like, she was shocked to see their weight loss. And
Yeah.
when we told her what we had switched the food from homemade raw, by the way, to this food, and we told her we were doing exactly what the bag said based on their activity level, based on their weight, size, whatever. She joked, don't take them out. They might think you're starving them, because they
Yeah.
looked
Yeah.
famished, even though we were feeding them, and it was costing us a ton of money.
Well,
So this can
yeah.
happen with any food, and it can happen before you know
Yeah.
it. So that's why you need to really be aware of what you're feeding, how much you're feeding. If you switch brands, read the label. It's not necessarily the same portions. You have to be an educated consumer. You have to also be a really involved pet parent so that you can nip these things in the bud. And that's not to say that anybody who lost a pet in this scenario was not doing their due diligence. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that we're learning
Yeah.
from these pet parents what they saw before
Yeah.
they knew, and now we can kind of use their sad tragic experiences to help our pets, and we shouldn't waste that opportunity to like really educate ourselves and do better for our pets if there is an opportunity to do so. I mean, I know that every pet parent does the best they can, and even those that are still feeding Purina, I know you're doing the best you can, and you have like whatever's stopping you from switching, I know that it's valid to you and it's important to you, and that's fine. I would never judge any pet parent for feeding what they feed, just because I'm not in your pocketbook. I'm not in your monthly budget. I don't know how much you make. I don't know what you do with your money. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you to do this, that, or the other. I will tell you, however, that if you're just letting your dog out in the yard and you have no idea what their poop looks like, you're putting your pet at risk, because that is how we know. And like, that's how we know with babies. That's how we know with children. If they eat a sandwich and they're constantly having diarrhea, you talk about that with your pediatrician, right? Same with pets.
Yeah. Well, and what I'm really interested in, because like I said at the beginning, I have never been one to follow Dog Food Advisor to begin with. I just happen to know that many pet parents do. So they are kind of this like beacon for a lot of people as to what to feed or what not to feed. What I'm genuinely curious to find out is if this is going to make veterinarians actually take notice, because so many, and I don't mean our holistic veterinarians or even our integrative veterinarians, but like our traditional Western medicine veterinarians who through this whole time have been actively telling pet parents the same thing as the FDA or as Purina, to continue feeding it because it's the best food on the market, or whatever the heck their mumbo jumbo lines are. If something like this, a website as influential as Dog Food Advisor is to the average pet parent, if it'll actually make some of these veterinarians go like, I didn't know about these numbers, because they weren't paying attention. They were only listening to what Purina was telling them. I didn't know about some of these numbers. Maybe I should look into this more. Like, that's where I'm genuinely curious to see if things start changing.
Okay, so I just want to finish up. We probably should have started with this, but about the Dog Food Advisor. The Dog Food Advisor is a reference website designed to help you make a more informed decision when buying dog food. It was founded in 2008, by Dr. Mike Sagman after his unquestioning trust in commercial dog food led to the tragic loss of his beautiful dog, Penny. The desire to save dogs from a similar fate has driven every word and every piece of data on this site since. So definitely removing Purina based on these allegations does fall in line with their mission and with why they were founded. When Mike retired from the Dog Food Advisor in January 2023, he passed on the responsibility of running the website to us, but on the understanding his good work continue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you were saying, there is this like line between journalism and blog, like where to the point, especially today, like, right, our news doesn't, or is all opinion.
No, you're right. Mike doesn't have a say anymore. Right now, the website is being run by a group of researchers, writers, editors, consultant veterinarians, and nutritionists, and most importantly, doting dog parents. Our work is guided by Mike's principles of honesty, objectivity, and following the science. Our mission is simple: to make sure that every precious pup gets to eat the best dog food for them.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it is important to be able to meet pet parents where they're at. Like I said, I'm just genuinely curious to see if this is going to make some veterinarians pay more attention and not just toe the Purina line. Venture capital, oh Lord. I mean, could we get into that? We so could.
Let's not. We have 6 minutes left. Please no. So I mean, everybody, if you want to review anything. Dog Food Advisor is still accepting reviews. They also have Cat Food Advisor now that was launched in 2023. I don't know if they've removed Purina from there. I don't know if he says that, especially because most of the allegations are against the dog food, specifically Purina's dog food brands, not so many cat food brands, even though there were cases that were reported.
There are a lot of cats that are sick and have died as well. We just, for whatever reason, like, people focus so much more on dog. I didn't even know they had Cat Food Advisor. Let me just be honest.
It just started. It just started in 2023.
I did not even know that, but I would hope
they're promoting it on Dog Food Advisor. And let me see. Yeah, it was launched in 2023.
Yeah, I would hope they would also take Purina off of that site as well. But it is, so Terrace on YouTube says, I so appreciate you both keeping us up to date with important info for our pets. And I will say, because I did see, like, there were some questions that I know we didn't get to, and I apologize, but it isn't just Purina that pet parents are complaining about. There are a lot of brands. Purina just happens to be the one with the biggest numbers,
right?
That is creating the biggest waves. But I would highly recommend checking out Dr. Judy Morgan. Any of her social medias. She has YouTube videos where she's explaining everything that has been going on. And if you go to the Saving Pets One Pet at a Time group, they are overwhelmed, to say the least, but at least you can see the graphics there of all of the pet food brands that have honorable mentions for causing illnesses in pets right now. The biggest, so it's because we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what is causing any of this. It seems to be associated with pet food. The only recommendation at this point is feeding human grade food without synthetic ingredients. I know that is very difficult for a lot of people to do because that is not the cheapest option out there. I have had many clients from this who people have been feeding Purina and they're scared and they just want to do a homemade diet. And so, like, there's nothing wrong with their animal. Everything is great. We literally just switch them over to a whole food diet. And that can be done DIY at home. It can also be done through brands, small independent brands that are doing a really good job of putting whole foods together and not needing to add synthetic ingredients, vitamins and minerals, which could be part of the issue.
Right.
We just don't know.
And those mixes are not just made for Purina. They're made by a third party, and then they sell them to whomever as part of their ingredient list. So one last thing I will say, if you are interested in moving to a different pet food, The Truth About Pet Food has an annual list. Susan updates it every year. You can get it for as little as a $10 donation. If you can afford more, please support her by giving more. But you can get that list on the Truth About Pet Food. It is a list that is all encompassing. Both cats and dogs are on the list. So if you are a multi-species household, you get a lot more for your buck. But I don't make any decisions without looking at that list. I may not always choose that list because there are premium brands on there because they are better usually. So if you have the budget, consider something like that. If you can, what is it? Boost the bowl with some of that stuff. Just consider that, but it is $10 worth your time. She doesn't just give you a list. There's background, how she does. It's kind of an education in pet food. So I highly recommend, and that's the Truth About Pet Food. So not to be confused with Dog Food Advisor. Right. Dog Food Advisor is the one that is now kind of being run by a group of people, no longer by Dr. Mike. Susan has always been behind the Truth About Pet Food. I don't see that changing anytime soon. She attends meetings. She is a consumer advocate for this. I don't remember what her background and why did she get into this? Do we remember? Because I know you've had her on your show.
Um, she had a dog die from, oh Lord, what was it? It was pet food, but it
It's
was many,
usually
many, many years
how
ago,
that
so I don't
happens.
remember
Yeah,
exactly.
that's usually how it
Yeah.
happens. Yeah.
It's
So,
truthaboutpetfood.com.
yes.
If you just type in truth about pet food into your search engine, it should be the first one that comes up.
Yes.
BC says the list will also teach you what to look for. It does a really good job of that, so definitely recommend it. This
Exactly
is
right.
Todd. Do you have any opinion on Dr. Harvey's for kidney disease?
Susan cannot be
I
bought. I love that.
Susan
Sorry.
cannot be bought. Yeah. Okay. So, do you have any opinion on Dr. Harvey's for kidney disease? I like Dr. Harvey's. I don't know enough about your animal specifically to recommend any one food. I will say with kidney disease, your primary concern is going to be moisture. How do we follow the Truth About Pet Food, IG, or just Google? The best way to follow Truth About Pet Food is signing up for her email list. So go to drop it's just truthaboutpetfood.com. Sign up for her email list. That is free. And she also reports on all the recalls. So you don't have to rely on Dog Food Advisor if you don't want.
One more thing I will say is that if you do download the list, please do not share it. The idea of that is that everybody who wants the list pays for it. It is how she makes her living. She does travel to attend meetings. She spends a lot of time and energy and money in reporting this stuff and putting these lists together. So please be honest. Do not, buy one and then send it to 5 of your friends. It's not the way that it's intended. So the $10 worth it, even though it is a donation. It's how she makes her living and how she's able to continue to bring that information to us.
Absolutely. So this is Todd. I would love to work with you too. You can DM me or just go to my website, jessicalfisher.com. And okay, who's on your podcast this week, Isabel?
I don't remember.
Oh, well, Covered in Pet Hair is a weekly show, and somebody will be on it this week.
I will tell you this: I had my birthday on Friday, so I didn't put out an episode last week. So I have been partying for the past 2 weeks, basically. So that's why I don't know, because I haven't looked. I skipped 2 weeks so that I can enjoy my my family who was visiting, my nephew who was here. He's only 4 months, and I was helping my sister with him and enjoying my kids, my birthday, celebrating, having a good time. So I don't know who's next. Thank you. I don't know who's next because I haven't even looked at stuff yet. But there will be an episode out this Friday. I usually put them out by 2 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, and it is a boozy show for pet lovers. I love to chit chat like if we were happy hour, so that's why I call it a boozy show for pet lovers. But if you're not following me, follow me, and then I will share with you who it is that's going to be on my show this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who's on your show this week?
So this week is Dr. Jeff Feynman on the Pet Parenting Reset. So Dr. Jeff Feynman is the mind behind Holistic Actions. He is a veterinarian. He is still practicing veterinarian, but he does teach online, and his Beam is one of the, I wanted to call it a method, but really it's just an assessment tool for how well your pet is doing, which can help you figure out, like, do you actually need to go to the vet or not? Really, really great for end of life stuff.
Yes.
So
Beam is really good, really good.
Yeah. So check that out. And I don't know. We'll see you guys next week, I guess.
Well, I will say this. Last week I had Chrissy Joy on the podcast. She is wonderful. She's a dog trainer for basically trick dogs and Hollywood dogs. She has a pack of like 4 dogs who have been in a ton of stuff, which is really cool. And she shares something about not only dog trick training and what she does with her dogs, but also mental health for pet parents, which is really cool. And then if you go to my podcast feed, the last episode that's on there is really hilarious. the guest that I interviewed made me laugh out loud, like a lot. Her name is Elizabeth Menegon, and she came up with an app to match people with the perfect dog breed, and she is very funny. So if you have some time to listen, she says things that like remind me of what I say, like size matters, and
oh Lord Jesus,
women in their 50s are not just to be set out to pasture. She
It
says
does matter.
funny things. She says funny things, and she made me LOL multiple times. A lot of these guests I don't even know, like as you, right?
Yeah.
You don't know them,
Yeah.
so you don't always know what to expect, and she was hilarious. So highly recommend. It's called Find Your Perfect Dog Match with Hands to Paws.
So what is your perfect dog breed?
Today is National Rescue Dog Day, so I always do rescues. I don't care what they look like. I want to know their temperament because I need to make sure that it matches my lifestyle. I will say that my next dog is going to be small because I've had many very big dogs, and it does make it more difficult with kids to even fit them in the car. So like, just, you know what I mean? Like, I think that the most important thing for me is always how they fit into my lifestyle, whether or not they'll bite my children's faces off. Those kinds of considerations are more important to me than breed at this point in my life, but always rescued, always. That is just so important to me. I am just as passionate about ethical breeding as I am about rescue, because I do believe that ethical breeders have their place. So this is not, and never do I want to make sure that, or I always want to make sure that people know that I'm not anti-breeding, but I do love rescue. So thank you to all the rescuers out there, because today we're celebrating the rescue dog, but how about the rescue people? Yes, all of you who volunteer, those of you who work in rescue, those of you who have to make those horrible decisions about, you know, who makes it and who doesn't, those of you who pull animals and save lives, knowing that you're leaving somebody behind, that is not easy, and my heart and my gratitude goes out to you.
It is really hard. Oh Lord Jesus.
All right, guys. Well, thank you again for joining us. Thank you for letting us talk these things out with you. If you have any requests for topics for the future, please let us know. We're always listening. And I don't know that we'll see you next week because it is
it's Memorial Day.
And I do believe that we are taking a day trip. So we hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Shout out to all of the military families that have lost someone they love for our country. My heart goes out to you as well, and I salute all of the military men and women who I know have lost those that they worked with in combat and outside of combat. So my heart goes out to everybody. Memorial Day is a very solemn weekend. It is not let's party and have barbecues. Remember that the reason that we have Memorial Day is because we are remembering those we've lost. So my heart goes out to everybody. Lots of love to everybody. Tell your pets we say hi, and have a great week.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye, everybody on YouTube and Facebook. We'll see you next